Jody, our last few members just came in, so we're getting settled in. We're called to order in just a moment.
Meeting of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. Roll call.
Quainer.
Here.
Kefauver.
Here.
McBride. I don't know who's up there.
I don't know.
And
Just Jody. Okay, so she's absent. Meyer.
Here.
Ortez.
Here.
Peterson.
here.
Schertz.
Here.
Spratt here, and Walker.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Part of our business to begin with is to extend a thank you to Robbie Ortiz, who was a brief representative. And as you recall, he did win the election for 4th Ward rep on the city council. We want to congratulate him with that. And he said aside that he has some ideas for recommending, so we're happy with that. So thanks for your comments and cooperation and dialogue, and we'll wish you well in your new role.
Thank you very much.
We've had our minutes provided to us in our packet. I want to take a moment to look them over, and if you have comments or questions, now is the time, and then I would entertain a motion to approve. Do we have any comments or questions? May I entertain a motion to approve?
I move that we approve the minutes of the last meeting.
Okay, second?
Second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to approve our November 16th minutes. All those approving indicate yes.
Yes.
Opposing? No. They've passed. Thank you. We do not have public for comment, so we'll move on to old business. And Chad will present information on the item, the Parks Master Plan.
Thank you. You all should have received my email earlier in the week. Patrick with Confluence had a conflict arise. Unfortunately, he will not be here today to follow up on the presentation from last month. I'm expecting to have a final draft that I will send out to you guys for some light reading over the winter break here. And then when we come back in January, Patrick will be here to answer final comments and actually hopefully accept the final plan, the document, and then it'll move on to council from there. I apologize wholeheartedly for the delay in this document. It has not been a smooth ending as is. It was a much smoother start to this process, but I am optimistic and hopeful that we are getting close to being done, and I'm confident and hopeful that the final document will be worth the wait. So again, thank you for your patience, but look for the actual document to be emailed out sometime in the next couple weeks for you guys to look at and review prior to the January meeting.
Thank you. Any other comments in regard to that? Thank you. So we'll look for heavy reading, right? Okay. Under new business is the Park Development Program Report, and Chad will be presenting at this time also on that. So you'll see that was presented to us or given to us in our packet for today's meeting.
So one of the blessings, I guess, for not having the park master plan presentation is that we get to spend more time with park development. Was going to be sort of a tight agenda with these two heavy items on the slate. So you're correct. We sent out the report in the packet, and I'm going to take a few minutes just to sort of go over what has changed from years past. I'm certain that the members of the advisory board that have gone through this process in the past, this is significantly different than what we've done. And one of the reasons in doing so and changing at least how we're presenting to you is basically to give you guys more information. In the past, we had essentially done a slideshow presentation with the projects and answered questions. When developing this document, thank you to Jessica and Becca for their efforts because they really led in putting this together. But we started earlier in the process earlier from a staff end to get more concrete data, more information, more justification for the projects that we are presenting for you guys to rate. So I'll walk through parts of the document. I'm not going to go through everything in detail, and then I want to spend probably the bulk of the remaining time to answer questions you guys might have. Staff's here. Also, if you have questions about a particular item. Following this meeting, we will be sending out the survey, so it's an electronic. If you guys remember in the past, and at the end of the document, there's directions and how that is done, but we rate high, medium, low priority on all the projects, and then we ask you guys also to give us your top 5 projects. From there, we score. That creates a scoring matrix. City Council actually goes through the same process that you guys do. They like to see how you guys score prior to them scoring, so we'll collect your data, and then I send that survey out to them in January, and along with your scores, and then they score. And then from there, we take the combined scores of council and park advisory, and we create a final slate, and that will come to you sometime in February or March for approval. Then that moves on to council for approval as well. So that's a little bit of the process. One thing you'll also see is we really took a concerted effort to look at the projects and tie them to council pillars. So there's an increased sort of justification for what we're recommending. I will note that the projects in front of you are very important, very needed, but not necessarily really exciting, all of them. You'll see a lot of infrastructure stuff. Typically, you would see several playground replacements in the document, but we are doing a lot of that sort of fun stuff through ARPA money. So there wasn't a reason to really include a lot of that stuff in park development. So if you're asking yourselves, why am I not seeing playgrounds? Why am I not seeing sports courts or aquatic features or things like that? Because we're funding that through our ARPA funding for the most part. So with that, I will move into the document. Starting on just page, see if my clicker works. So this is just a reference. If you're not familiar with the council pillars, they do this every year as part of their planning process through their workshops. But they are fiscal vitality, well-protected community, welcoming neighborhoods, high-performing government, sustainable infrastructure, and vibrant region. The majority of the projects you'll see us will be in the welcoming neighborhood, sustainable infrastructure, or high-performing government sort of pillars. Maybe a vibrant region fixed in or mixed in as well. So last year, this was the FY22 project list for your reference. We always give you this as a reminder of what we did in the previous park development fund. Most of these projects are either complete or underway or in the planning process. Again, park development is primarily GO bond funded CIP, so there's no calendar or fiscal year restraint on how we or when we have to have that money spent by. Whereas if it's local option sales tax, we have to spend that within that fiscal year or we lose it. So sometimes projects carry over. We still probably have 1 or 2 projects out there from 2 or 3 years ago, Park Development Fund, that we're still working on trying to complete. So that's just a note for you guys. So here's just the general list of the program proposed projects. And the rest of the document really gets into the individual projects in more detail and more justifications. And then they also have a timeline as to when our estimated target completion is. So we also took the document and sort of categorized the projects based on our divisions. So you'll see projects listed under administration, under operations, under revenue facilities, and under recreation. That way it just sort of gives you a grouping idea based on our areas of operation in the department. So the first project under administration is a branding initiative. This one is under the Welcoming Neighborhood pillar. It is targeted for completion of 2022, assuming, and all these numbers are basically assuming they're rated out and they get funded, right? Nothing at this point is guaranteed because you guys obviously have not done your rating and we have not provided a final slate. I'm not going to go through and read everything on this list. I'm just going to walk through and basically give you the project and what pillar they fit under, and then we'll open it up to some questions. Or feel free to stop me if you have a question on a particular project. Go ahead and hit your call button and have Wendy recognize you. The next one is the Duck Creek Park electronic sign. One note on this is we do have 2 electronic signs in the system already, one at Annie Witt and one at Fedgeberry. This one would give us a 3rd one on the east side of town into the off of Locust into the community. We use these largely to highlight programs and different events that are coming up in the department, as well as to communicate other city initiatives, things in the community. Courier van. So this is another welcoming neighborhood project or piece of equipment. The Courier van, this would essentially replace or tandem with our 15-passenger van. We have the van we have currently, we have to take seats in and out often to make it usable for like parties in the park, bringing equipment to and from. This would just give us a little bit more efficient operations in utilizing those 2 pieces of fleet equipment. Moving on to parks operations. The one playground that is in this proposal is a new playground for the soccer complex. It's intended to give an additional amenity out there for siblings and kids that are waiting to play or there to watch their siblings participate in soccer, to have another amenity activity for them to do while they're at the complex. City Cemetery Maintenance Building. So this is a project that the current, if you've driven by the city cemetery, the current shed, so to speak, is does not meet our city cemetery partnerships needs anymore in terms of storage and operation. So we are looking to replace that. Also at your desk, you'll find a letter of support from the City Cemetery Partnership, which is our friends group that assists us with operating the city cemetery. So you may ask why this simple maintenance building has such a higher price tag than maybe a prefab pole barn type building you might buy at Menards. And that's simply because it has to, or was requested by the partnership that the building match some of the historical features of the cottage that is on the cemetery property. So through design and some of those elements have driven the cost for this project. Skatepark maintenance, we met several weeks back. We had or actually Jessica and Becca led a public input meeting with our skate park users. This one will do some lower level just maintenance repairs, some of the concrete. We do have a larger CIP request in for city council to do additional improvements and enhancements to the skate park. So there's two sort of projects that overlap each other that will improve the skate park, this being one, and then the one in the CIP if they get approved. Nahant Marsh water connection. Last year's cycle, we did some security cameras for Nahant Marsh per their request. This one, the educational center at the Marsh is on a well for their water. Recently, American Water brought the line closer to the building, so it's presented an opportunity for us to connect to city water, which will benefit the marsh. We won't have to test the well. The well could be left as a redundant system or as a backup potentially, but we thought, and this was a conversation we had with Brian Ritter. They fully support and would like to see this project move forward. They also are in the middle of fundraising to expand the current building. So this would be critical for the success of that future building as well.
Bucks, I think, if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken.
Yep, they are raising. Yeah, they're raising 3.7 million for trail connections in that additional building
And more land they want to buy.
and more land they want to buy.
I mean, I read that article. They know how to spend money down there.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, they are fundraising the water connection.
They get back for what they're putting into it.
Sure.
I guess was what I'm questioning.
Yeah. Our partnership where the city really comes in is maintenance of the facility. I wouldn't say this necessarily helps us in terms of operational things. It really helps the educational center. We said we would put it in the plan. It's up to you guys, to really think if that's a priority or not. But we put it in, but I think certainly if it doesn't get approved through this process, they would have an opportunity to probably fund this money through their fundraising efforts, so.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing
No.
over there. I'm not saying that at all. It's just
Yeah.
that it seems to me like it's pretty easy for them to get grants.
Yeah, and I'm not sure there's a grant opportunity for a water connection, but
No, I probably wouldn't be. I would be under operations.
Yeah.
I'd understand that. But,
yeah.
okay. I'm
Okay.
just questioning.
Sure. This one is a fun project. This is the We Go Swing, inclusive swing set. So if you remember last year, we opened Gabe's Inclusive Playground at Vanderveer. At that time, there was not a inclusive swing for wheelchairs on the U.S. market that was approved. Landscape Structures has since brought one to market. Otherwise, this probably would have been included in the original build-out of that playground. But this is something that we feel would be a nice, unique enhancement and would go well with the inclusive playground at Vanderveer. Credit Island flooring. This project refinish the concrete floors within the lodge. You can see the pictures in the packet. Due to flooding events through the years, the floor is starting to show wear, and this project would help us grind, smooth, patch, and repair the flooring, and then seal it with an epoxy coating that would also help in future flood events.
If you had a flood, would that stuff still stay on there?
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
We've done it in a couple of the golf course bathrooms, the one at
Yeah,
Emice in
okay.
particular. So it's highly durable, water resistant, so it would enhance and help protect the
Okay.
flooring from flood events. The next one, moving on to recreation, Special Olympics equipment. A lot of the equipment that Sherry uses for her Special Olympic program has become past its useful life and in need of repair and replacement, so this money would do that. It would include stuff like snowshoes, javelins, shot puts, training set, markers, holders, discus, so track and field equipment, our snow equipment. And it's something that, if it's approved and slated, we will likely try to request that get moved up in funding so we can have the equipment ordered and ready to go hopefully this spring for this summer's Special Olympic programming. Sorry, Krista, go ahead.
Yeah, Krista had a question.
I did, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. I did want to say, if it is going to get cold in there, I would not do an epoxy coat because it will crack in probably less than 10 years, depending on how many people step on it. And it is really popular right now, but it's not a good decision if it's going to get cold. Just wanted to say that.
Sure. So the lodge is heated, so it's a heated environment, so. But yeah, we'll certainly take that into consideration if funded. Moving on, Ventrac Park Cougar House roof. So the old Cougar House is, since the Learning Center was converted away from being a zoo, that area has been largely used for our environmental education program storage, and the roof is leaking pretty significantly. So we are at risk of having our equipment, supplies, and stuff that we store in that building damaged, so we would like to replace that roof. Soccer complex goals and net replacement. So this would replace the 13 pairs of soccer goals that we have at the soccer complex. One of the interesting things with this one is we have been engaging the school district about taking the old goals and then redistributing them through the community at school sites. So that's a nice collaborative piece to this project. Junior theater porch repair, pretty self-explanatory. I can't speak. Explanatory. Thank you, staff. This one repairs our front porches on the Nice Wander, Theater. You can see in the picture the porch, it's sinking. It was installed in the 80s, and it's due to be replaced. Similar issue going on. We need to do some tuck pointing at the theater as well. Main theater building and cottages are in need of tuck pointing. Main theater building has some bricks that can be removed like Jenga pieces. So the grout needs to be repaired in certain places on the theater, on the main building, and on some of the cottages as well.
Chad?
Yes.
I was wondering, in looking back at the porch
Yep.
repairs for the theater, I happened to be at the performance when the storm came through.
Oh,
And some kind of a particle or even an awning that leaves that not directly attached, has that ever been discussed?
okay.
Yes or no?
It has. We have not discussed it, but we'd have to
Okay.
review, replace anything along those lines. Replacing that would go through HPC, but we'll look into it.
Okay,
Have those
well,
discussions.
there was a house of and we all got to swim in the water. But it just brought, usually it's beautiful weather, but when it isn't, perhaps something like that. It wouldn't have to be a big, heavy building, you know, just those nice welcome
Yeah.
things. So just put it in there as a thought. But
Okay.
it's needed, the
Will do.
opening there.
All right. Moving on to revenue facilities. The first one is the water boiler replacement at River's Edge. The unit is past its useful life and needs to be replaced. This is the unit that supplies all the hot water to the showers and the restrooms, and as well as the hot water needed for making ice and for the resurfacing. Golf course range ball dispensers. So we're looking to replace the range ball dispensers at all 3 courses. Again, the machines we currently have are past their useful life. These machines will actually be beyond just a replacement, will be an enhancement, because they'll allow us to use a code system or barcodes in lieu of tokens. So it'll be more convenient for our users to access and get range balls. It'll also allow them to not have to go back to the clubhouse. If they want to buy more balls, they'll be able to just swipe and make that purchase right from the range machines. Annually, our ranges gross nearly $120,000 for the golf course. So this is pretty important piece of equipment for the golf courses. And all 3 courses need to be done. This is equipment we currently lease. Are they carry-alls? Yeah. Carry-all utility vehicles for our golf courses. We are looking to purchase in lieu of leasing 2 gators. The one will be a sort of collaborative or cross-departmental use. We're looking to upgrade one of them to a 4x4, and this would be available for the police department to utilize if need be. One thing we came across when the police department was in the midst of trying to locate Breasia, we didn't have any 4x4 utility vehicles of this type in the city. And when they were trying to look in areas where they needed more all-terrain vehicle, there wasn't one. So talking to Chief Sikorsky, he would very much appreciate if we upgrade our gators to a 4x4 so they could potentially use if need be in the future. Golf course restroom renovation. So this is replacing fixtures, flooring, just general maintenance upgrades to the 2 course restrooms, on-course restrooms, the one at Emice and the one at Duck Creek. They have not had much love in a long time as far as just painting and fixtures. We just haven't had the funding to do it. But it's something that's a pretty high priority for golf to enhance those on-course restrooms. The Ventrac turf machine, I'm going to let Troy speak about this one because he knows a lot more about it. And since he's sitting next to me.
Sure. And if I backtrack one moment on the.
Oh, turn your mic and.
Hello? Going back to the restrooms real quick, the derecho did give both those restrooms a new roof. So we were able to replace the roofs on a insurance on the derecho insurance claim, and so we want to go ahead and renovate the rest of those restrooms on that. So the Ventrac turf machine I proposed there is a enhancement vehicle where it replaces a lot of different odd jobs that maintenance staff has trouble doing, cleaning around ponds, cleaning around, mowing, and doing particular machine tasks on severe slopes, like golf courses has a lot of small areas versus like where, you know, obviously we have some parks that are on some severe slopes as well, some whole properties where golf courses has a whole bunch of little spots that need care for play, that this machine would replace a lot of handwork and do a lot of a variety of tasks that we aren't able to do with our current equipment fleet. So I put this on this list because it's an enhancement to the fleet versus a priority of a staple of a normal piece of mowing equipment.
And then our last, go ahead, Jay.
Need one of those, what we just, Yeah, it was. Because we just finished didn't finish them all yet, but all the sand traps. That's an ideal machine to go around the sand traps. to do
Absolutely.
that. That's one thing you did. Okay. That's a great idea.
Mike?
The Ventrac machine makes an incredible snow removal machine also, so would that be something to consider, maybe an increased cost, but the city or golf courses or parks could use? I'd love to have one, but they're incredible snow removal.
The parks and golf course collaborate on the snow removal in the wintertime. We get assigned different areas, so yeah, this vehicle would be great for that. It comes with it doesn't come with the attachments, but you can continue to buy attachments. I think there's like 50 different things that go on that makes this really versatile machine. Very good.
The last project listed in the document is the Duck Creek Golf Range line mats. So this would put new fiber-built T-line mats in the practice range at Duck Creek. If you've been out there, it's really starting to wear, and this option would replace the existing artificial T-mat with a new mat. It's a high-tech turf with replaceable sections. It gives us the ability to, if areas wear out, replace them rather than having to replace the entire AstroTurf that is currently there. So it's an efficiency we gain as well as taking care of a need that is, or an area that is worn and needs to be replaced. So I will pause there because I know I sort of sped through those a little bit. If anybody has any questions for staff or me or wants to discuss any of the items, we're available and all ears.
I did have one question. I was curious if we have any information on Davenport Cemetery, whether they have insurance for their roof or anything about that.
So the city cemetery is a city-owned asset, so all the insurance for anything in there falls under the city. So we maintain it. The City Cemetery Partnership is just a group of volunteers that essentially help us to replace, or if like any of the headstones get damaged, they assist in that. They do some minimal volunteer labor, but they're not the body that would carry the insurance. The city covers all that. So yes, it would have insurance coverage under the city. Yep.
Jerry?
On the golf courses, I don't know whether we should discuss that now or when we just have our free time. But I mentioned to you earlier, Troy, about season tickets. And we do have a program, but I'm just not quite sure if it's getting out to who we'd like to get it out to. What can we do about that?
Well, we do put it on a blast to our it's been expanding every year. We started off our first season passes. He's talking about season passes where you pay for a single fee, and it pays for unlimited golf for that season. It doesn't cover the cart, but it does cover all your normal green fees. And we started off, I think, 16 the first year, and now we're up in the 40s. So it's been a very moderate, but fairly good growth every year, because it's not necessarily membership wise. What would you say? Customer loyalty. It is a good thing to have, but it's not necessarily profitable because those people are all getting a really good discount. So the slow, the fact that it's offered and it's slow growth seems healthy for the revenue. As far as getting it out there, we have, all of our marketing in our department.
I don't understand what you mean by not
sorry.
making any money with it.
Pardon me?
I don't understand what you mean by not making any money out of it.
It brings in money during the off season when we're not golfing, because people usually buy them before the season starts.
Okay.
But as far as if that same player played golf that many times, it would be more profitable to the golf course,
Okay.
because it's
I'm with you now.
Okay.
I need to understand.
yeah, I might have been thinking ahead. I'm sorry. It offers a discount.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Jody has
Yes,
a question, yes.
thank, can everybody, if I talk too loud, please let me know.
No,
I
you're
usually
fine.
yell.
Sounds good.
Okay. I have a question on the skate park maintenance. If we don't do that maintenance to the concrete and do those repairs, if it's not approved, how long before total replacement will be needed? Meaning if we don't take care of it now as basic maintenance, is it eventually going to be, okay, we screwed us out, didn't do the appropriate maintenance, now we're going to cost $100,000 to replace it all?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question, and I would say that's would be a risk with almost anything we do. If we continue to defer the maintenance, we're going to have higher replacement costs down the road. To tell you that it's, if we don't do this now, we're, 2, 5, 10 years away from replacement. I can't give you that timeline. But I can tell you that we continue to see a lot of shifting in the concrete. Flood events certainly do not help the skate park. Another thing is, in meeting with the user groups, the concrete, I guess, bowl, the style of skate park that we have is not really flexible to change, as far as if the sport or different innovations or different types of riding or different styles become more prevalent. Our concrete skate park doesn't offer that flexibility. Whereas if you were to look at a modular above ground skate park that's wood based with skate light, you have the ability to easily swap out different features and ramps. We're sort of stuck with what we got. Some of the money does, though, the one in the CIP would allow us to potentially expand in certain areas and bring different riding amenities. It's a little bit more than just general maintenance. It has some enhancements to the skate park tied into this. This money is really the base level maintenance that we really need to take care of as a priority right now. The larger CIP process, as you're all aware, parks projects compete against streets and sewers and public safety and all other things. So we felt important to at least get this $50,000 roughly money in this program, so we can at least take care of the most critical issues that we're facing in the short term.
Okay, great. I have a follow-up on the skate park. I have like 2 or 3 others for some other projects.
Sure, go ahead.
Do we know an estimate of the number of daily users or annual users at the skate park? Because I know I drive by River Drive all the time, and there's always somebody there in the summertime.
I'm looking at staff, Jody. I know you can't see me, but they're all shaking their head no. We have not done any sort of calculation. I would think, given we had roughly about 45 people at the public input. So
Right.
we know there's at least that many generally engaged users. I would say, based on standards, I would assume there's probably a couple hundred in the community that probably use it on a regular basis.
Yeah.
geographically where it's located in the community is not the easiest to access, right? Being down on the river and spread out in the community for riders and users to get there. I know some of the comments we got were much like dog parks or pickleball courts, we're asking for additional skate parks in other areas of the town. That would be more convenient for other riders to access. We have not started really heavily investigating those options at this point.
But the comment about that is this is at the age of some of these visitors, it gives them something to do rather than run around and get in trouble. That's just my take on it. A lot of you guys don't drive down there. I go by it several times a day in the summertime. There's a lot of usage. Okay, now I have a question on the Nahant Marsh. I know, like Jerry said, they spend pretty well. I don't know, do we know how many people visit that on an annual basis?
Yeah, we don't have that number, but I can get that. I can talk to Brian Ritter and ask for their annual report and send that out to you guys as background information.
Yeah, because to me, as far as, everything that they're doing, I think it's a good fact or detail to have to use. Okay, as far as Credit Island, Credit Island gets rented when it's not flooded. Isn't it rented almost every weekend when we don't have a flood down there? Isn't it heavily a rental property?
Yeah, so typically wedding season, late spring through the summer and into the fall. And I mean, it's our largest probably rented lodge. We have two, that in Duck Creek. It's pretty much rented on a weekly basis, if not more.
Right. Okay, and just a personal observation, we have epoxy floors in our garage back home in Davenport, which is insulated but not heated. And we've had that for like 7 years and haven't had an issue, but the wear and tear on that is very, very durable. So I think this is one, especially because it's heavily rented, is one of the better projects. Okay, and my last question is, what happens, except for the scoring, and we'll get to that when you talk about it, what happens if actual costs are greater than budgeted costs?
So, yeah, I'm glad you asked that question. Part of the reason you're seeing a more robust packet is based on that very concern. So this year part of the reason we started the process early from a staff end was so they could secure more accurate quotes in presenting these projects. Certainly, we have run into in the past where we've had a project approved at what we thought was an accurate price or cost, and then seen prices change. We have some internal mechanisms to help supplement if that happens. In park operations and in our administration operation budgets, we have what's called Lst Funding, which is sales tax funding that can be used for capital items. So from time to time, if we have shortages, Betsy and I will chat and utilize those funds to cover a project. But typically, we're pretty on point with what you're seeing. We're pretty confident that we'll be able to deliver on these projects for what the numbers we're presenting.
Okay, thank you again. Once you talk about scoring, I have a question there too, but I'll mute now. Thank you very much.
Yep, you're welcome. Okay. Any other questions, or do you want me to move on to scoring and instructions?
Jerry had a question.
I just have one more question. On the golf courses, we're taking out a lot of trees now. They're out there doing that now. And what are we doing to replace those? And do we have a design, or are we working with someone to help design it? Or are we just out taking out trees and deciding whether we're going to put one back or not? Right. A golf courses should be designed.
Sure. And right now, we're just taking it because of the ash trees on top of the derecho damaged trees. They're just, seem like they're just getting waxed out.
Right.
The forestry helps us with some supplies of trees. The forestry department, they get trucks in at a time, and then they offer us certain replacement trees. that we basically prioritize them ourselves from where trees were in dividing the holes up. As far as there's not a tree plan professionally done, but there's, by the experience of the other greens staff and myself and forestry themselves, they kind of know good locations for them too, that we kind of in combination decide which ones we're going to replace.
With Patrick being involved in the planning stage, I think I mentioned to him at one time, we were talking about the golf courses. I really think you need to have somebody help design that instead of employees, okay? And that's what I'm hearing. And I think that's what you got.
Mm-hmm.
So I totally disagree with what you're saying, what you should do. You got a golf course, you want it to be the best golf course out there, you design it properly,
Yeah.
okay?
I'll
I'm not saying
elaborate.
anything that you're doing thing wrong, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
that's what we need to look at.
I mean, and generally, if we're taking a tree down, we're replacing it in that existing location with the species. We have done some planning with Paul Miller, more cart path and other things, but we can certainly engage him about looking at the tree canopy and how they impact play and look at holes.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
Adjust those plans.
Yeah.
We can talk to him about that.
Okay. I just want to keep that in the back of your mind rather than just going up and doing things. Okay.
Yeah, I promise we won't just throw trees in the middle of fairways.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Other questions?
Okay, for the sake of time, I'll just move on then real quickly to the scoring. So as in years past, we'll send out a survey following this. It'll be a SurveyMonkey online. We would prefer if you can do it that way because that helps us, it helps tabulate for us. If for any reason you really need a paper copy of the score sheet, Jessica will be happy to provide one for you, but if at all possible, we'd like you to try to do it through the SurveyMonkey, the online version. So the link will be sent out to you. Oh, okay. Sorry, Justice handed me a correction. So again, you'll see all the projects listed on each page and they'll have high, medium, low. So you'll pick your preference on each project. And then at the end of the survey, it'll have the whole list of all of them and ask you to pick your top 5, right? And through that, we have an algorithm, a matrix that takes all that combined information and puts a numerical score to each project. City Council will do likewise, the same process. Please do not use money as a determining factor. We really want you to rate the projects based on importance or priority or council pillar as it relates, or just general need, or how it may impact the service level, the community, that type of thing. Again, you'll see at the end, obviously, or you see in the listing on that front end page, I sort of skipped over it. We have a little over $650,000 worth of requests or projects in here. The fund is only funded at $350,000. So obviously, based on your scoring, we sort of draw that line where we hit that $350,000 mark, and then the other projects fall off. So that's how it works. And then again, like I said, council will do it as well. Questions? Pretty seamless process, actually. Go ahead, Jody.
Okay, so I'm just curious, it's high, medium, and low. Is it a 1-for-1? Does the computer just count up all the highs, all the mediums, all the lows? Or is there a pointing system attached to the high, medium, and lows?
There is a point system attached. Low scores 0 points, medium is 1, high is 2. Then once you choose your 5 projects at the very end, your top 5, that awards that project additional 5 bonus points.
Oh, okay, very good. That's very helpful information. Okay, love it.
We didn't
Thank
want to
you
let
very
that
much.
secret out, but we did. No.
Well, it
No,
kinda
it's
is,
good,
yeah.
yeah.
We're not supposed to figure.
Any additional questions on the Park Development Fund or scoring? Well, thank you for your time. Madam Chair, back to you.
All right, thank you. I'm still having a little bit of, like, this isn't like it used to be, so there's going to be a process going on in my head on how to move from old system to new system, but that's me. I don't know if anybody else who's been here is right.
You will want to have this report with you. We did not put the same information into the survey just to make everything streamlined. So this document is going to be helpful when you're referencing that.
Thank you, thank you. We have now staff reports, and Chad said that he would provide any additional items
Yeah.
since he's been presenting several important items now.
The only other thing I want to just make reference to, just so you guys are aware, so council in January goes through their budget workshop meetings every Saturday. Those are certainly open to the public. If you're interested in learning about funding and the budget process, certainly feel free to attend. They're held here in council chambers. Typically, they start at like 8 a.m. end around noon. Public can't engage in the process, but they're certainly welcome to attend and watch. But generally, it goes with goal setting the first Saturday, operations the second Saturday, CIP is the third, and then they conclude with just a wrap up on the fourth Saturday. So staff's always here, the department heads are here and available to answer questions on things for council. I like it. It's a fun process to watch. If you're interested, I just thought I'd make note that that's coming up. Yep. So, yeah. Yep. Other than that, staff, we're busy with a lot of ARPA projects, getting RFQs and RFPs out on all that funding. And I will turn it over if you have questions for the team behind me.
Oh, I had a question in regard to the last item under I guess it's park operations, so I'll hold off on that until then. So let's go through our items, and the first notable update was through park operations. So questions or detail. My question happened to be on the last one, the full-time environmental horticultural position. What specifications are required for that position? You know, that's taking in the whole world. So are there priority qualifications that you're looking for? Ow.
Touch it. So yeah, that position is being worked through HR currently. We anticipate the position being open in January. It will be an hourly employee, part of the AFSCME union. And with that, will require an associate's degree in horticulture, environmental education, landscape training, any number of those. So yeah, that we're excited about that one.
Yeah, that's nice. It's hard. And the other question, I guess, is I just put a frowny face by your struggle with the Tyler Park situation. And so, you know, is that something that will be, when winter's over, we'll see if it's still up or what?
You know, that if my safety guy had his druthers right now, he would take it down. He's a little frustrated. Next week, I'm going to work with him and Chad. We're going to draft a letter and actually send it to corporate. It's gotten to that point where we're just getting no response from our local rep as well as our regional rep. So we're going to go straight to corporate and see if we can't get something done.
Added a bunch of stuff to it in the last week or two.
They did. They corrected some of the safety issues, but there are still a couple others that just aren't acceptable. You know, when you're paying $65,000 for a piece of play equipment. The customer service that we've gotten from this company is just not acceptable.
Thank you. Bobby?
Okay, just real quick, Betsy, just to go back so I understand it, for the Duck Creek electronic sign, it's at 65,000. Now, is that for the brickwork and the sign, or I can't believe the sign alone would be 65,000?
It is for the entire project, so yes, we'll make it.
Thank God, I was like,
You know, yeah,
that's
it-
one heck of an LED sign for $65,000.
Yeah,
So
and
that,
it will be made so it fits that. You know, Doug Creek's a little historic, you know, I mean, it's one of our entryways to our city. So yeah, we just didn't want to throw up an LED sign.
that's, thank you. I was like 65,000, that's gold plated, so thank you.
Jerry?
Out at Emi's, you know, they're finishing up on the sidewalks, and they're doing an excellent job. That place looks nice. But they have one sidewalk going up to the playground. And were we going to replace that playground, or are we going to keep it in the same spot because the cement's already in to there?
So yes, and the vendors that are bidding on that ARPA project are aware of the ADA project.
Okay, so they've got all that.
Will be
Okay.
worked. Yep.
Okay, because I seen it was all done. I said, oh, I wonder what they're doing there. But no, it's great. Those guys have done an excellent job, and that Hawkeye, they're good people anyway. They're just absolutely so. Thanks for doing that because it really looks good. So thanks.
Any other comments? Questions? What about the recreation reports? Are there items there? I was into smiley faces. I guess that's the easiest thing to go with. But the permission to have job fairs at the high schools, I think that's a big step forward. And how we got in the door, let's keep it getting more open. I think that would be awesome. Any comments you want to make on how that came about?
Yeah, it's a testament to Teresa and her team and our HR department to continue to work with the schools. It's something we had access pre-COVID to, and they sort of got shut down, so they're starting to open up that access again to us. And I think it'll be certainly helpful in our recruitment opportunities, particularly with our lifeguards. We're hoping to really turn the table on our staff for this summer and be able to open our pools to full capacity as in the past. And then AmeriCorps as well will benefit greatly from that opportunity to engage students.
I have a question, since you were talking about lifeguards, and you guys probably are, so forgive me if I'm asking a silly question. Are we engaged with the local swim coaches to try and recruit kids off the swim team and even the extra, travel swim teams?
Yes, absolutely. Amanda reaches out to all of them and gets with the gym teachers that some teach lifeguarding classes, as another opportunity.
I figured you guys were a step ahead of me. Thank you.
That's good. I commented on the downpour and how surprised some of the actors on the stage during the improv performance when it happened. It was like, Showtime Pal went, they usually roll back. But what I wanted to say is the improv troupe is now a consistent troupe that will be performing through junior theater, so look for that. But seeing the young people with this wide range of experience, what a great opportunity for youth to learn the techniques of thinking on their feet, because that's where it goes. They do some strategy on how you work, but the topics came from the audience, and you've got a 13-year-old, an 11-year-old getting that experience. It's awesome. So you can even enroll your children in improv class. So that's my junior theater promotion. Revenue facilities. questions for Troy? We've asked him lots of questions, but I'm sure he has more in regard to things that are going on. Chris?
Yeah, I've heard, and it says here that it's been a profitable, basically since COVID times for golf. Where does that profit go essentially? Like if we budget for X number of rounds and we get 20% more than we expected, that seems like more money to golf facilities. And does that just get dumped back into the general fund, or is that something that could be used for upgrades like are in our little packet here? Not to take away from giving to golf through our development program, but I was just curious as I heard how well golf's doing.
Yep. So yes, the short answer is our enterprise funds are supposed to operate that way to where they are expected to cover their costs through fees and charges, and anything that would exceed our operational costs would go into a capital replacement plan and be held in the golf fund. We are getting to the point where we're close to, if not maybe a little over breaking even. The additional rounds have helped us get closer to that. In the previous years, golf has been subsidized through the general fund to a little degree. Hence the reason to tap into CIP and park development for capital projects. But yes, ideally, if golf continues to gain revenues beyond its expenditures, that'll be held in the golf fund for capital projects.
Good. Other questions?
Yes, I have a question on golf
Sure.
revenue. Excuse me, for the concessions, is that money that the city gets, or is there somebody that gets concession costs or revenue?
The city receives all the revenue on concessions.
Thank you.
Other items? The challenge section, you had an opportunity to look at that, and all of our entities did state some challenges. I don't know if you have ideas in meeting those challenges, so I'll just throw that out. Park operations, losing a full-time position. I have a question on how they are, who is taking the place of Dave at River's Edge? Do I have his name right? Who is no longer with? Yeah, that's kind of this multitask person, and I know that he has recently retired, so where are we with that?
We had a gentleman that was had been training for his job for a while that came out of golf, and he has moved into that position. So it's pretty seamless as far as the hours go, and then we're able to with a new personality in there and a new employee and new training, we're looking forward to this relationship going just like Dave's was.
Good, good.
Along those lines, I'd also add we are in the process of hiring a second shift custodian for after hours. One of the needs really to better enhance the cleanliness of the building, we need a second shift when the building's closed to basically cover cleaning everything. So we're in the process of hiring that right now.
And where would that be listed? In our regular opening positions thing through the city?
Yeah, I believe Ryan is just now completing the pre-recruitment process, which goes through HR approval and budget. And once that gets approved, it gets listed on the job posting site.
Good. Well, I hope we have success with all of that. I think second shift would be ideal for everyone. What about recreation? The dance instructors, my question was who advertises or recruits for the qualifications? I mean, not everybody in the public could meet that specifications for being an instructor. So how do you fill something like that?
So Daniel's pretty good at filling those positions. Obviously, he is responsible for creating the requirements, job description, and skill set that he's looking for in those instructors. Again, like any of the positions, it starts through our general just promotional thing, but then he, like Amanda with lifeguards, will tap into his resources in the community, other, theaters, dance instructors, people he knows, utilizing current staff that we have that are in that field to help recruit and find those people that meet those requirements.
I know that since you mentioned that and getting recruitment going, my question was, down at River's Edge, opening positions, where are those things posted within the building? I'm wondering, dressing rooms, in the lobby, you don't see much of, we're opening for this, and there's lots of traffic in that building.
Yeah,
So
we
where-
need
where is
to, we have a handful of general posting areas, but I know from time to time we post them in the restrooms. I know there's boards in there. But yeah, we could do a better job of probably putting them out in the public eye. So we'll work with Becca
Yeah.
and Ryan to get those more front and center.
Yeah, I know that you can go to the restroom and see events within the city, so maybe every once in a while we're looking for,
Yeah,
so.
I know from time to time I've seen when we're hiring like golf and seasonal employees, I've seen postings on bathroom stalls. So, but yeah, we'll certainly work and to get those more in the public eye.
Thank you. The final, yeah, Jerry.
No, I think anything that we do for the theater system over there, I think it was just an automatic, we should just do it. My question I have is, at one time when we took a tour over there, we were gonna open up that other area, maybe possibly for dancing and so forth, and I know we don't have enough people to do that, but where are we with that?
You're talking about the main building, renovating that
Yeah.
main building that Family Resources used to occupy. That one keeps getting pushed out in the CIP. It just has not gotten the legs from council to fund. The other thing is there's been several other, I guess, inquiries from developers, nonprofits, other things interested in that building. So I guess it's just sort of in discussion as to what the future of that building, who will have access to it. And it's just sort of stagnant right now. There just hasn't been a lot of movement.
And to get into the dancing?
Yeah, no,
And they can't do
we
that
still
because
have
they
a
don't
wait
have the
list. I mean, we've outgrown the capacity in the main theater. There's definitely still a need to expand somewhere. One of the ideas too would be potentially to try to bring some of the theater programs over to Roosevelt, utilize that. We do utilize the Duck Creek Lodge for dance programs as well. So one of the things you will definitely see highlighted in the master plan is a large deficiency in indoor space in our system. So it's a need. Yep.
Is it building historic? That
It
whole complex?
Yep, that whole complex is, yep.
So it can never be destroyed, but it can be added to, am I correct?
Correct. Yeah, it would be pretty challenging to have it demolished or removed.
I wouldn't want to see that.
Yeah.
I just thought maybe if there was something that we could.
Yeah, anything we do on the Annie Witt campus usually has to go through historic preservation for review.
Okay.
Thank you for all of the input, and I think we've expanded information. What, Jody?
On the theater area, it would really be a shame to lose that property to a nonprofit organization, because once it's gone, it's hard to get back. And if we really have need for it and space, Yeah, it needs to be, in my view, one of the priorities that we need to look at in the next year. Because if we lose it to a not-for-profit, that's a shame. That's all I got.
Thank you. We have one other report that we would like to hear from Mr. Myers on Riverfront Improvement Commission.
Meyer.
Meyer, yes, take the
Just a
S off,
pet
yes.
peeve. I have a report on the past meeting, but they canceled their meeting for December, so I won't have one next time. One of the things that is going to be happening in January is a presentation on the progress of Veterans Memorial Park, because that's moving forward with some money. And then there's been a lot of work happening at River Heritage Park, in earthworks and sidewalk stuff. And the seating looks like that'll happen in the spring, and then I guess this month, or maybe it's already happened, they'll have the benches and streetlights and everything, or I guess whatever walking lights are called. And then they said next year, American Cruises will have 31 stops down there at River Heritage Park, and Viking will have 10, including I think a couple times when they're both there. So that'll be a pretty good photo op. Also very challenging for the buses and people. Yeah, logistics wise, it's going to be a challenge, but you know, it's going to be a good photo op to see two big boats pulled up there. And then one of the things that Riverfront Improvement's been working on, if anybody went to Chris Kennel Market, they did some new things, and they've left up some of those lights, and they're going to leave them up until and through Ice Stravaganza. And then they have some ideas of doing more lights kind of down Beiderbecke or just in the general riverfront area, not to necessarily compete with February, but just have another festive holiday area to drive through. And I guess Ice Stravaganza is going to have, in addition to the walking portion that was missing last year because of COVID, they'll have the walking area back, I guess, again, and then they're still going to have a new, more drive-through area because certain populations, you know, in the winter aren't able to get out and walk around and see them. So they really liked some of the stuff they did with the drive-through. So they want to keep basically both aspects of that moving forward. And then additionally, they had talked about, I learned that the Riverfront Improvement Commission pays a chunk of money to the Parks Department for their, you know, some of the stuff they do, or the Parks Department does for them on the riverfront parks. And they want to, without taking away from that money, potentially add more that they may do additionally as far as unique stuff. And it sounds like Chad's aware of that. But there's just, like Steve mentioned, that at one point he had get out his weed whacker and trim the weeds that are between the seats at Peterson Pavilion, the band shell. You know, it's just, that's the kind of thing that doesn't fit within normal parks maintenance, and as stretched as parks is. But I think they're talking about maybe trying to hire some help for Steve that would be both operations, you know, literally manual labor type stuff, and also some of the more social media or promotional and festival stuff. So Steve's a pretty busy guy, so that makes a lot of sense to me that they would look to do that. And then the last thing I want to mention that really has nothing to do with the riverfront, but it was mentioned by a couple of them, is Vanderveer Ice Skating. They had a question whether that still happened and whether the warming house was ever still used. And then I've also noticed, just driving by, there's some sort of what looks like a skating rink to the west of the conservatory. Is that a secret?
It was.
Oh, sorry.
No. No. Yes, what that rink to the west of the conservatory, that is what that is. It is a planned ice rink. We are doing that in lieu of the lagoon. The issue we often run into the lagoon is it's too deep. It doesn't freeze enough for us to maintain it and get equipment on it. So I talked Betsy into doing a separate standalone ice rink that will only have 6 inches of water. Hopefully we get some freezing weather enough to freeze that and allow for some outdoor ice skating at Vanderveer. But yes, that's what that is, and that is what it's intended to do.
Thank you. That was basically everything I have as far as the Riverfront Improvement Commission. And like I said, next month I won't have anything.
I will, if I could just add on the Veterans Memorial Park, as Chris mentioned, that was bid phase 2, and construction will start this spring. It was an interesting sort of approach with the funding that we had allocated to complete that project. We worked with Bush Construction to basically be a project manager and create bid packages or line items for different components of the project rather than bidding to a general contractor. And we were able to save some money bidding it that way. But yes, the scenic overlook is part of that, as well as enhanced trail, pedestrian trails around that. So yeah, we're excited to get that kicked off here this spring.
Awesome. Great things happening. I hope we noted that and we'll be ready to do that. We need to move on to advisory time. It's, again, one of those things where, we do a lot of discussion. We have freedom to answer our questions as we went through the proposed projects. So are there other things that need to be added to our time?
Chad, Prospect Terrace, have you met with lately Alderwoman McGinnis or Corey Spiegel as far as when that park will be open? I'm already getting asked about it.
You mean Riverview
Oh,
Terrace?
Riverview, I'm sorry.
Yep,
Riverview.
we had a neighborhood meeting with Alderwoman McGinnis, I want to say 2 or 3 weeks ago. And the attendees at that time were, I would say, in favor of keeping the roadway closed because it's yielded results. The park has improved. But I understand where you're coming from because I've talked to Alderman Ambrose as far as the larger Fourth Ward. Riverview Terrace is a Third Ward park. Technically, that's why Alderwoman McGinnis has led that conversation. But it has a historical and community aspect. So we have worked with Shive Hattery on some designs to open additional parking to the park and allow some vehicular access without maintaining that thoroughfare, which is, I think, a pretty fair compromise, which will serve both the larger community. So they are updating that now. We don't have those plans back, but long-term, that'll be something that'll probably need funding, and we'll have to put into the CIP. We'll continue to have conversations with the immediate neighbors. I don't know if Alderwoman McGinnis, she hasn't indicated any additional meetings she was going to hold, but it may be something worth the new Fourth Ward Alderman and the Third Ward Alderman chatting when, and we're, I'm open to working and taking whatever direction you guys and the neighbors want to approach. So, but that's where we are at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Other items for advisory time? Yeah, Krista.
I was curious if the Riverfront Commission or Kathy Wine decided what to do with the statues that we were talking about a couple meetings back.
So that's on my list to follow up on. I think Wendy and Jerry had an additional conversation or meeting, which they sent me the notes on. No resolution or decision or anything has been moved forward at this point. So, it's just on my plate that.
I did have a note, I just was driving by through the city where Duck Creek is, where it meets near the Frisbee Golf Course. It's right on the road. It's right on that little waterway edge. And I just thought, it's got a lot of people that drive by, and I don't know, I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah. I mean, I think the long-term decision is whether or not they stay outside or whether they move
Indoors.
permanently indoors or to maybe another more well-protected location in the park system. The age of them, and the fragility of them probably warrant some serious consideration about moving them indoors in general. I don't know if River Action and Kathy are really in favor of that route, but I'll certainly follow up with her and have, broader discussions on how we best move those forward, so.
Yes, that's good. Thank you. And other comments, items? If not, the last thing I would like to say is at the end of our report was a great listing of community updates. And so do take a good look at other events that are here. And if you have a chance to go to the Conservatory at Vanderveer, please do so. I believe is it Friday night or Saturday night? It's open later. Saturday, it's open till 7, so you can see the lights at night. But even during the day, it is pretty spectacular. So try to get yourself and family members to see that.
The extended hours for the Conservatory, this Saturday is the last Saturday that they'll have the extended hours.
Okay, so do it this weekend, right? We've had a very good meeting with lots of information, and now we have an assignment. So we'll leave with that and entertain a motion to adjourn. Okay, a second, please.
I second that.
Those say yes to adjournment.
Yes.
And hearing no's, we will adjourn. So great meeting. Have a great holiday, everyone. Yeah.